Good morning. I hear a squeal in my voice. It's not because I'm hitting puberty again. I have had a rough week audibly, but I'm excited for what the Lord has for us. I feel a little bit like a chipmunk. I have 3 cough drops in my mouth right now. So I get to add to my spiritual gift assessment. That's not a question to be asked, but. So, let's dive into it. You can go ahead and turn to 1 Engle 3. 1 Engle 3. If you don't know what my wife does, let me tell you a little bit about it. She is a video producer. She does these awesome videos. It takes forever to put together. It's super impressive. Her company actually is the sole provider for videos for Gardner Webb University. So, if you go to Gardner Webb's website, and any of the videos that you see, my wife more than likely had her hand in one of those videos. But what you see when you go to their website and you click on those videos, what you see is a finished product. It is done. It is finished. It's ready to view. What did you not see about that video? You did not see everything that went to putting that video together. Hours of raw footage putting together, uploading, downloading, editing, sending it to the client sending it back and saying it's not good enough, doing that 5, 6, 7 times over and over again. For a 30-second video, it could cost hundreds or thousands of dollars, and it could take up to multiple weeks of work. But what you see are 30 seconds of the finished product. We as Christians believe ourselves to be this finished product. We forget sometimes that it takes a lot of editing in our lives every single day, that we need to be editing ourselves, sanctifying ourselves, working on ourselves. When we believe that we are a final product, we become completely useless to God. When we believe that we are a finished product. So this morning, guess what we're going to do? We're going to edit ourselves. This morning, we're specifically going to edit our listening. In college, I had a friend named Carrie. And Carrie was really close to her grandmother. Her grandmother said, "Hey, I would like a Facebook. All the cool kids are doing them. All my friends have them. I would like a Facebook." So she said, "Okay." Carrie helped her grandmother set up the Facebook. And everything went pretty well. She got to go Facebook stalk all of her friends, be up to date with everything. And Carrie noticed something that was really bizarre. She tried to teach her texting lingo. There is a different language when you text on the phone, right? So, LOL means what? Laugh out loud. Very good. You passed the test. Congratulations. Very good. All of you are bilingual when it comes to social media. Carrie's grandmother was not. Anytime someone would post something sad, or post something traumatic, or post something difficult, her grandmother would always post LOL. Now stay with me. If someone would post, broke my leg today, I'm going to go get an x-ray tomorrow, prayers please. Her grandmother was right in the first comment, LOL. It's rough, isn't it? What did her grandmother think LOL meant? Lots of love. But it doesn't. That's the problem. And so Carrie would try to get her grandmother to understand this over and over and over and over again. But her grandmother would not. They know what I mean. They know I'm not laughing at their injury. Well, Grandma, they might not. And so it matters who we listen to, doesn't it? It matters how we listen. How we hear, what we listen to, and how we listen changes everything in our lives. What you lend your ears to changes everything about your life. Excuse me. This is our New Year's resolution. I want you to write this down in your notes. New Year's resolution is let's edit our listening. Let's edit our listening. Make 2020 the first year that you focused on your listening and gave your ears to the Lord. If you're not there yet, go ahead and go to 1 Samuel 3, and let me set up our scripture real quick. Go all the way back to just a quarter through the Old Testament. Abraham has been called, and we follow Isaac and Jacob. Joseph brings the Israelites out of Egypt, but years later, they're enslaved. But God delivers them. 40-some years later, they finally in the promised land. For a while, God sends human judges to help the Israelites. But they always struggle with what sin? We learned about it this morning in our small groups. Idolatry. Israel was supposed to be God's holy, separated nation. Spiritually unique in every single way. Then the Israelites do the unthinkable. They ask for what? A human king. They say, give us a human king so we can be ruled like the other nations around us. We don't want our uniqueness, we want the commonality of the nations around us. Samuel refuses to appoint a king, but finally God allows it. The day Israel's monarchy begins, the Israelites rejoice. But with thousands of years of hindsight, we look back and we realize that that was one of the beginnings of the destruction of God's chosen nation, was a human king. The only reason you would ask for a king is why? Because you think you didn't have one in the first place. So when we get to 1 Samuel, we are introduced to Eli, the high priest, who has warned about his sons, who has watched his sons lead the nation and become detestable to God. A barren woman named Hannah begs God for a son, and she gives birth to Samuel and dedicates him to the temple. Let's read Samuel 3, 1-14. Now the Lord was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no frequent vision. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim, so that he could not see, was lying down in his own place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of the God was. Then the Lord came to Samuel, and he said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call. Go back, lie down." So Samuel went back and lay down. And the Lord called again, "Samuel." And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me, Eli." But he said, "I did not call you, my son. Lie down again." Now Samuel did not know the Lord, and the word of the Lord was not yet revealed to him. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time, and arose and went to Eli again. Here I am, for you called me. Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, speak, for the Lord your servant hears. So Samuel went and laid down in his place. We'll stop there. When God people, verse 3, the word of the Lord was what? It was rare in those days. When God's people stopped listening to the Lord, God stops using those people. That's going to be one of our key themes today. What we listen to becomes the source of our motivation. That's point number one. Point number one, what we listen to becomes the source of our motivation. For those of you who may not know, I have a twin brother. He looks just like me, but he's much uglier. We pretty often got into trouble growing up. And I think the problem is that when you have twins, there's two of them instead of one. And that was our main problem, was that there were too many of us. And I think my mom would agree. But we had combined, we had 4 working ears, but we always had trouble hearing my mother for some reason, and it was never our fault. One day when we were about 4 or 5 years old, we were sitting down getting ready to eat, and my mom placed our lunch in front of us and said, here's your lunch. She looked each of us in the eye and said, don't move, don't do anything but eat your lunch. And she said, I'm going to go over to the laundry room and I'll come back and everything will be fine. But it wasn't. When she left, about 3.5 seconds after my mom left, Kyle and I decided that it wasn't time to eat lunch, it was time to play baseball. And we didn't have a baseball bat, but this is what we found out. If you use your imagination, anything can be a bat. So we were in the kitchen, so a spatula became a bat. The wooden spoons that we got spanked with, those went to good use today, that day, they became a bat. Our hands became a bat. But the problem is we didn't have what? We didn't have baseballs. You can't play baseball without baseball. So, in a stroke of brilliance, I said, I got it. You know what it looks? It's almost the same color. Almost the same size. And it belongs in a fridge. What is it? Yep, I went and got the eggs. Hey, it was 5. So, I went and we both used both of our muscle power and jerked that fridge open. And we have a large family, so there weren't a dozen eggs. There was like the pack of 24. And so we got the 24 eggs. We played baseball for a solid 30 seconds, which was enough to destroy everything. Eggs were everywhere. They were in my hair and all over Kyle, all over the newly painted kitchen, all over the newly redone tile, everywhere. And my mom lamented. And it was where she came back. All she did, guys, was take the clothes out of the washer and put them in the dryer and came back. And that was enough time for us to destroy that kitchen. And she came back and eggs were just everywhere. Who did Kyle and I listen to that day? Ourselves. We did not listen to our authority. We did not listen to our mother who just wanted us to eat a hot dog and be quiet. It matters who we listen to. We see the start of Eli and his family, who started writing down their own description of how life should be and ignored the description that God had already given them for their lives. Often when we stop listening to God, who is going to be who we're going to listen to? It's going to be me. It's going to be ourselves. You can't, in the first 3 verses there, you can't miss the symbolism, and I'm going to show it to you. You can't ignore the symbolism in the verses that point towards Samuel's rise and Eli's fall. Okay? Here's just 3 points of symbolism. Samuel is much closer to the Ark of the Covenant than Eli. That's going to symbolize their spiritual status. Dimming the eyes of Eli is going to be symbolic of the spiritual dimming of Eli's eyes. The lamp was dimming in the temple. What Israel's relationship to God was like But the lamp was still shining, the glimmer of hope that we see in Samuel. Eli and his people stopped listening to the Lord, so the Lord stopped using them. We get two warnings here. Two warnings for specifically this sanctuary this morning. And I think the first warning goes to two specific people in this church. Who's that going to be? It's going to be Pastor Jeff and myself. I think there's a strong warning here for the spiritual heads, and then also the rest of who's the spiritual authority in the church as well. But starting with your pastors, how long would God allow us to poorly pastor this church until He didn't allow us to do that anymore? Until at some point He allows us to fall for the sake of His church and ultimately for our own sake. There's a strong danger when pastors decide they are God's gift to a congregation. And we see pastors falling from this problem. Dozens of pastors every year. When anyone, a pastor or a church member, starts thinking that they are indispensable, they put themselves in the same mindset that the kings of Israel had. When we come down to it, there is only one person that is necessary in this church, and who is it? It's God, Heavenly Father. Now, it doesn't mean He doesn't want to use us. Of course He does. But we can't think that we are as indispensable as God Himself. Secondly, this is a warning to the church congregationally and to the church individually. How long would God allow an entire church to ignore Him? Just think about that. How long do you think God will allow an entire church to ignore Him? And I'm not saying that's where we are this morning, but I'm saying when we look at our research of churches, the Southern Baptist Convention research of churches, we see what percent of churches are dying or remaining the same. Does anybody know? It's somewhere, there's different ones. There's somewhere in between. The lowest is 60%. The highest is about 85% from what I've seen recently. And here's the danger, is that we know why. The danger is there's multiple different reasons for this, but one of the reasons is that some churches simply stop listening to the Lord. And they listen to who? Their own voices. I heard a brilliant phrase from a pastor at Castle this past summer. He said this: every church you see is doing something for God. Every single church, good or bad, is doing something for God. But how many churches are doing things from God? Do you see the difference? How many churches are doing things from God? I believe our church here at 21st Baptist Church is strong in its theology and strong in its foundation. I'm proud to be a part of it, but we can never get to the point to where we drown out God's voice with what? With our own voices. We must always be on guard. I'm super proud of where we are. I'm super proud of what our identity is. And we need to keep working to make it. It's God's identity and not our individual identities. Amen? Now, all of us individually need to think about this. When it comes to ignoring God, we need to ask ourselves, what are we willing to lose in order to keep ignoring the Lord? What are we willing to lose to keep ignoring the Lord? When we ignore God, He will let us fall and He will let us lose. How long will we ignore God before we lose enough things to come back to Him? Are we willing to lose our children? Are we willing to lose our jobs? Are we willing to lose our spouse simply because we don't want to listen to God anymore? We must have humility, and I want to make sure this is clear. We must have humility and understand who we are as creation and understand who God is as creator. We're not needed, but we're desperately, desperately, desperately wanted in God's kingdom. And I'm telling us to have humility this morning, but I'm not telling us to have self-doubt this morning. Too many people have self-doubt and call that humility, and it is not. We must have humility and understanding of who we are as creation. But God does not call us to self-doubt. He calls us to the greatest of confidence. But that confidence is in Him. Number two, Listening is a community project. Listening is a community project. 2 times Samuel hears his voice, and what does he do? Did that voice sound like Eli? I have doubts. It doesn't say. I think we can assume that voice didn't sound like Eli. But no one else was there. When Samuel hears that voice, he goes and he asks for help in his community. He goes and he asks someone for help. Listening is a community project. These verses show us a few things. Eli has some spiritual ignorance as a young boy, but after years of silence, God finally speaks, and it is to a young boy of little significance. We understand 2 awesome things here. Number 1, God is willing to, and God does call anyone willing. God will call anyone willing. And get this, God doesn't care about your resume. God does not care about your resume. He doesn't vet you and your experience. I said this last time I preached. God doesn't call the qualified. He what? He qualifies the called. By some unknown author said that. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Notice that Samuel is called, and this is a Hebrew word, so you're not going to know if I'm wrong anyway, so it'll be all right. In verse 1, Samuel is called a Na'ar, N-A-R, Na'ar or Nar. And that word means young boy. Young boy who's been experienced. You go only 20 verses later, just 20 verses later, and he is called a Nabi, which is a prophet, a renowned prophet of God. In only 20 verses. What changed in Samuel from verse 1 to verse 20? What do you think? Nothing. Nothing changed in Samuel except God calling him and him listening. God's calling is what happened to Samuel that made him a great prophet. God does extraordinary things through the ordinary. And you, Christian, are not too anything for God to not use you. You are not too anything for God not to use you. We also see from these verses the importance of spiritual mentorship. Although Samuel was an impressive young man, he needed spiritual guidance from an older mentor. I started seminary a few years back. My very first class, it was this beginning class, intro class, and he said, out of all of these people, 25 are either pastors in training or they are pastors. And he looks around the room and he says, how many of you have a spiritual mentor? And a third of the class raised their hand. A third of the class raised their hand, full of pastors. And he said, okay, raise your hand again if you have more than one, and me and one other person raise their hand. Spiritual mentorship is a dying art in Christianity. Our motto here, First Student Ministries, is empowering parents and adopting spiritual orphans. Everyone needs that mentor in their life, helping them discern God's voice. Every single person in here, we are in need of you to mentor someone else in here. If you are not fully fulfilling God's purpose in your life. And on the flip side, you also need someone investing in your life as well. We need to take heart Eli's instructions to Samuel. He said, when you go back, when you lay down, listen for God and do a few things. Have respect and humility and be willing to serve and obey. That is it. Nothing is mentioned about abilities. Nothing is mentioned about wisdom, knowledge, etc. Biblical listening involves obedience, reverencing, and little else. You are qualified. And then we come to the end of the verses. We come to understand that Eli, we assume Eli understands that God is calling Samuel, the very boy that Eli is training, to prophesy the destruction of Eli's leadership. Pretty crazy. We won't read those verses, but those verses is pretty much what they say. God comes to Samuel in a vision, and he says, Eli's time is over, and I'm going to lift you up as a prophet to lead Israel. So point number 3, the dangers of not listening. The dangers of not listening. The outcome of these verses is the end of Eli's leadership in the family. One of the main points in this text is God's kingdom versus man's kingdom. God's kingdom versus man's kingdom. The danger comes when we invoke our own kingdom. Israel decided to put a man on God's throne. We still do this today when we stop listening to God and decide to listen to our own desires. But thank God that He is gracious, and this is Eli's third warning from the Lord. God is gracious and gave Eli and his family a few warnings beforehand, and God is faithful to do that in our lives as well. God is faithful to give us warnings and heads up in our life when we have stopped listening to Him. Those are crucial moments for us and a chance for us to correct our ears and action. Let us look at our lives right now. In what ways have we stopped listening to the Lord? Let us all think these questions in your heart. And I'll do some editing right now. When was the last time that God used you? Point back to your life. Can you point back to the last time God used you? When was the last time we made ourselves available to God? Are there any warning signs or heads up from God in our life right now? Let's start listening this morning. The awesome thing here is that when we see what happens when you don't listen to God, but we also see what happens when you do listen to the Lord. But just a couple of verses and chapters after this. The awesome thing here is when we see what happens with Samuel when he listens to the Lord. He becomes a prophet of God and does incredible things over and over and over again. And God has high, incredible callings for every one of our lives as well. I think maybe all we need to do is listen. Listen to God. Let's do that this morning. When God speaks, Samuel listened, and then he responded to God. The editing in our lives that we need so much doesn't start until we respond to God. We're going to use this moment here. We're going to give you a moment to respond to God. But I do want us to think about in what areas of your life are we not listening to God. I love the idea of a New Year's resolution. I love the idea of a clean slate. I love the idea of something new is about to happen. And I want each one of us to have that in our lives and in our hearts this morning. So we're going to give you a little time to respond to God. And thank you for bearing with me this morning. I know I sound kind of like Winnie the Pooh. At least that's what I've been told this week. But I want to encourage you. And I haven't thought this week, I wonder if God uses, I haven't been able to talk for 6 days. I made it to this morning, thank God. But I wonder if God allowed my voice to be gone for 6 days. I wonder if He wanted me to practice what I was going to put in front of you this morning. And I spent time specifically listening to God. And I had so much more communication with Him. What does listening to God look like in your life? Listen to God by reading His Word. Listen to God by meditating on Him. Listen to God by focusing on Him and drowning out your own voice this morning. But God's calling in our lives is nothing without a response, so let's do that. I'm going to pray real quick. Heavenly Father, thank you for this morning. God, I pray that my life would change every day. I pray that I would edit my life every day. And I pray that I would never believe that I'm at some spiritual points where I'm in no need of any more assistance or any more of betterment. God, thank you for this week, for helping me find a specific kind of humility so that I can see you greater. God, I understand who you are better when I don't understand who I am as creation. God, as our congregation listens this morning, will you speak to us? It's your heavenly name we pray. Amen.